Aiwan, Namaskar, good evening, good morning to all of you who have joined us across the globe, wherever you are joining us on this fantastic webinar. A warm welcome to all of you. I'm Sharon Mascarenhas joining you from Sri Lanka. It's slightly wet here in Colombo, but we're all set to give you a very exciting and a very interesting webinar today on a hot topic that we want to talk about: how a managed service provider arrange a win-win situation. Now, on behalf of Infopercept Consulting, we warmly welcome you to the very first webinar in our series. We have those of you who are streaming us live through various channels here at home, wherever you are. We'd like to welcome you very formally. And if you're experiencing bad weather or unsteady signals, we'd like to inform you that the session has been recorded, and we'll be happy to send it to you back through email or whatever the mode that you want us to. We'll be happy to assist you through that. Now, a little bit about Infopercept Consulting, who is a leading managed security service provider who's hosting this panel discussion as a part of its thought leadership initiative. This discussion would be on cybersecurity strategy series for new age digital warfare. The webinar will consist of discussions on the impact of COVID-19 on security operations, security challenges for the next 3 to 4 years with a future-proof security operations plan, and other critical issues in the information security domain. There's a lot of talk that's happening around the world, and we want a solution to all of this, and we have a fantastic panel who is joining us today. So our topic today: adapt to face the economic change of the decade. And the session is going to be for 1 hour. We'll be joined by three fantastic panelists who will share some great insights on innovation, rebooting, as well as reinvention. A good, engaging discussion and great conversation. Now, if you have any questions, if you want to throw out anything or any suggestions, please do drop it on the chat section, and we'll be happy to take you through. And also, each speaker will go on for not more than 5 minutes. And let me take a moment now to introduce you to our panelists. It's always ladies first. So she is the Executive Director of Cyber Risk and Information Security for Sysinnova Infotech, choreographing brilliant IT security compositions for 2 decades with a proven track record, shattering the glass ceiling. She accepts challenges and continuously contributes as a business enabler in different sectors that includes automotive, BFSI, ITES, and manufacturing. She has expertise in enterprise security and risk governance, business and regulatory requirements, cyber defense program management, security architecture, and a whole lot more. She holds a master's degree in information technology, Doctor of Excellence in cyber risk management, along with the required industry certifications, including Cisco, CHFI, ECSA, and CEH. Also to mention, global industry leaders like Nissan Motor Corporation, head of cybersecurity, risk governance, compliance, and many more. What's important is that she's also a award champion for grooming dogs, which is, I think, one of those very interesting areas that I would personally love to get some tips on, because when I tell my dog to sit, he stands. Introducing you to Dr. Lopa Mudraa Basuu. Good evening, doctor.
Hello, welcome to the session, and all the participants who take up their busy time. Hope this session will be very useful for all of them, as well as it will be a very engaged session for all the panelists.
Thank you, Dr. Lopa. Thank you very much. Now, to introduce you to our next panelist, he has an extensive global IT and security leadership and organizational transformation experience, including as CISO and CIO, and his areas of expertise include strategic planning, risk management, identity management, cloud computing, and privacy. His current interests include the Internet of Things, blockchain, zero trust, a lot of those topics that's currently been spoken, software-defined perimeter, self-sovereign identity, and he has earned a master's and a PhD degrees from Vanderbilt University. He's a certified information system security professional, and he was honored by the first Global Cyber Observatory by induction into the CISO Hall of Fame in September 2019. He won multiple other industry honors, including CISO of the Week, CISO 50 Award, Computer World Premier 100 IT Leaders Award, CIO Ones to Watch Award, and the Network World Enterprise All-Star Award. He's a member of the Society for Information Management and International Association of Privacy Professionals. He's also very good at singing, listening, and also playing bridge card. Very honored to have with us Dr. Arun D'Souza. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, Sharon, and hello to the fellow panelists, Jaydeep and Dr. Lopa. And thanks to all of you for joining today. I'm happy to be here and conversation, connection, community. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Doctor. My next panelist counts more than 15 years of experience covering India internationally, 30 or more markets, and has been given opportunities to work with some of the smartest and rocking characters to build teams and companies both in India and in other countries as well. As a co-founding member of Infopercept, he's involved in strategy and nurturing relationships across the globe. And before Infopercept, worked with the Allied Digital Services, MLA Security, Elite Core Technologies, Indusface, and Crystal Solutions were starting role of networking security engineer to chief technology officer to drive global team and establish practices. With a strong entrepreneurial skills and ability to build world-class teams, particularly in multicultural and geographical diverse environments, he enjoys establishing cybersecurity vision, nurturing relationship for long-term growth, conceptualize products and services, setting up and managing security optimization center, managing and guiding group of smart people to achieve high results, and building world's first non-real-time cybersecurity strategy. This is amongst the many other lists that he's involved. Director Information Security Strategy, Infopercept Consulting, who is dedicating his time to be on this webinar discussion instead of watching his favorite team, the Chennai Super Kings, playing against the New Delhi Capitals, which is one of the most interesting games that's happening right now. But very honored to have with us Mr. Jaydeep Rupalia. Hi, Jaydeep.
Hi, Sharon. Thank you so much for the introduction. Hello to Lopa ma'am and Arun sir, and thanks for joining. Thanks to everyone who has joined this webinar, and let's see how we help each other. Thank you so much.
I do understand that today is a sad day in India for losing such a legendary and a veteran musician. However, the grill must go on, and this is where our time being the new normal that we all join us globally to move forward in terms of technology and how we can proceed. So let me start by asking all three of our panelists who are present here with us today, how is COVID-19 pandemic impacting the information security? Dr. Lopa?
Very interesting questions, Sharon. When it is coming to the impact on information security, it is not just information security, the entire business actually get impacted by COVID. As we know that every business either fully or partly having a strategy to go digital, most of the cases, but COVID act as a positive catalyst and boost that journey. It's just like, pushing the entire business in a single shot and say that, hey, go alive in digital era. So with that, most of the organization may have a strategy, which is specifically either information or reg strategy or cyber strategy, which is capable to handle that huge requirement of work from home, because it happens suddenly. As we know, most of the company is having the work from home policy or supporting it partly or in a move to that phase, but there is no time. So to keep the business moving or rolling, you need to certainly have this entire setup in place. So that was the biggest channel. That is the biggest channel we need to set up, and it's a huge challenge for the organization because you have a chunk of employee enabled for that. Now the entire employee base you need to enable from that perspective. You have a very less time to actually identify the secure technology and do it. Second biggest challenge is to share the endpoint devices which are pre-baked or hardened. So most of the cases we need to rely upon the employee-owned devices, and that is a big challenge because we don't know the security posture of the particular device, as well as the internet connectivity or the internet router, that is the home router, right? So this is a most important challenge people need to overcome that time. Second thing is, when you're starting a journey towards the digital world, you need to have a proper plan and strategy in place. Since it's a certain burst, this also trigger some of the organization to move inside the cloud environment. Might be some of the organization having a good cloud policy in place, which they can replicate to the other area where they may not have a policy or may not have an intent to keep it in, move it into the cloud. So that is a big challenge that certainly you need to go and expand that area, or you need to explore that area to ensure business as usual. So cloud security is a completely different ball game altogether. That is a major challenge. Now, we actually send the entire workforce to home and asking them to work from home, but we are not actually make them aware about how to handle the enterprises, how to connect securely. So the training, the information security awareness training or the role-based training required is become a big challenge that time because you have a very short time. Now, these are some challenges related to the phase which we have already overcome. The next phase, biggest challenge is how we are going to extend the facility to support the end user during any incident. Because earlier, whenever any incident is there, you are inside the uh, corporate environment. So you have a policy, procedure, practices, technology in place, which are actually developed and designed keeping that in-house environment in mind. Also, the agreement you may have with the different third parties, that is also keep in mind that that your environment is connecting with the third party environment. Now, your workforce is working from home, your support people are working from home, your third party support provider is working from home. So how to build a cohesive environment to ensure a proper tool, process, and people are in place to support the incident. Also, how you will extend the technology related support, not even the incident. There could be other possibilities, other challenges due to the remote connectivity. So this is there. Then when it is coming to the remote activation of connectivity, actually this BCM triggered lot of requirement, but in traditionally security or compliance is not that much taken care under the BCM as a component. So what happened, generally any BCM situation or DL situation, crisis situation experience earlier, we are used to shift it from one city to another city or one country to another country. But under the current situation, we are shifting everything at home. And earlier experience is that there is a certain time, right? After that, entire business is revived into the original mode. That is the normal corporate environment. But currently, we are in a situation where we don't know when we are going to restore that mode, or we would be able to restore or not, because new business as usual will be completely different. That is what we are expecting. So considering this, these are the challenge. Also the policies and procedures, which is a kind of, critical component when it is coming to the corporate environment. There is a gap or vacuum initially. So lots of companies are actually plugging this gap, but initially there is a huge gap, and that is a learning for everybody. Also DLP. DLP is enabled in a mode which is very aligned with the corporate. We need to relook at the DLP part to protect our data, to see that, how we can make it more efficient and effective. Also, end user need to aware or pre-aware in some of the things that they are handling, right? How to handle the critical data, or how to take a meeting while you are sitting at home. So there are lots of challenges which may related to technology, which may related to strategy, or maybe related to your policy procedure. So some of this are related area or dependent area on IT. Also, we may need to relook on some IT policy from security perspective. Maybe some of the policies like, end user computing policy, or acceptable users policy of corporate resources, which we may need to relook. Though that could be more legal or HR policy, but at this time it's a huge demand of operational environment that we should relook it from a security perspective also. So
Thank you.
over to Sharon.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor, for giving us that very detailed description, because it's important that we look at all the users who connect with us, and especially being the end user as well. Dr. Arun, how do you see this in your part of the region? What's your view on this?
Well, first off, we have now irrevocably entered the era of distributed work, not just remote work. And many years ago, when you looked at when Marissa Mayer was at Yahoo, she brought all the people back from their home to the corporate office so she could control them better and all that stuff. Now you see the opposite. Twitter and other companies, some of them have said, you can work from home for the rest of your career, no issue. There are various reasons for that. One is I see it myself. I'm working far more than even when I was working before, because I'm just at home. So getting higher productivity, they can reduce real estate expenses and so on and so on. So whatever business reason, the era of distributed work is here. So with that, it becomes important to deliver what's called boundaryless access, anywhere, anytime, authorized access to digital applications and services. And therefore, identity is a cornerstone. We'll talk about that more later. Having said that, as you enter the era of distributed work, we have noticed a significant increase in attempts by malicious actors at business email compromise, right? We have visibility to many of these types of attacks centered on the coronavirus, fake health organization lures, etc., etc. But in particular, we've noticed a spike in spear phishing and whaling attack at executives, because people are trying to actually do financial fraud by fooling people, right? As well, we've noticed attempts to put ransomware through email. Now, fortunately for us, we've got a industry-leading email security boundary solution in place, so we've been protected from that. But these are things that a lot of other companies are seeing as well. Now, how do we combat that, right? People, process, and technology, right? Technology is just about 10% of the situation, but people are very important, because every year I've been tracking a statistic and it says 95% of security incidents come from people. So we do a lot to train our people, keep them up to date. So we have many bulletins, campaigns, and even gamification to our workforce, so they can be aware of digital threats and protect even their personal email channels, because the corporate solution is very strong, but if they have a cheaper one like Yahoo or whatever, it might not protect as well, and many a time they access these email services from their home computers and so on, or work computers, I mean. So it's very important to train them well, because enlisting people as a first line of defense is even more critical in these uncertain times, in the era of distributed work, really, right? Even more important. And integrating people, process, and technology is paramount, because you need to be able to make sure that you focus on that trifecta of identity, integration, insights. So across the whole security stack, as a CISO, I'm able to see in near real time all the threats and manage them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arun. I've been loving the comments coming so far, because Dr. Lopa gave some very good insights on how cohesive environment has to be integrated together. And then you spoke a lot about people, which is also the common factor, because nobody was prepared for this. And what happened was all of a sudden we're getting on virtual. And yes, there was a complete spike. So naturally, there was a lot of questions raised. Mr. Jaydeep, how do you see this as an impact?
Yeah, I always have a habit of relating the physical situation to the digital. So I'll start with that. The way you said, nobody was actually prepared. The way physical world was not prepared with the mask, the sanitizers, the hospital beds that are required. Same has happened in the digital world, because we come from this offensive background and we know how the adversaries will take opportunity out of this. So we understand that they have taken that as an opportunity, and we see the cyber attacks increasing a lot. So that's the situation on the digital ground.
All right. Thank you for giving your views on how it's impacting the information security. I'm going to ask Dr. Arun now, how would you like to share your wins when it comes to business continuity? Hindsight 2020, what are the lessons that we've learned? If you had to do over, what would you do differently? I'm not sure whether people want to go back to the same routine, or whether they want to go forward with it as well.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, Sharon, and thank you for it. You know, Peter Drucker, the famous management guru, said, culture eats strategy for lunch. So I think very importantly, talking further on the notion of people, because people-centric security and people-centric culture is going to make organizations succeed. So we got to really focus on culture, enlisting people not only the first line of defense, but supporting them with value-added business process, automation, and so on. They could be more efficient and more productive, right? So we need to really focus on culture. Also from another side, because when people are in the same building, you can have town halls, you can bring people into a big room, you can tie people together, whether it's your own team or the larger company or the whole country or whatever it is. But now, how do you keep people together, especially here in the United States? GM has said salaried workforce, work from home till next June, and perhaps our company as well. Keeping people together and the team unity is so huge. So I think culture is very important. Upper management needs to focus on that. And once you realize that, what all do we do to engage the people going forward? From a technical perspective, I think we've been very fortunate at our company to have a solid, scalable identity management platform to enact the principle of anytime, anywhere, authorized access, to secure single sign-on, multi-factor, and so on, and actually enabled a seamless lift and shift for our global workforce to jumpstart this era of distributed work. Of course, to a smaller degree, this platform is in place for multiple years. People use it when they were at home after work, or if they were sick or whatever. But it's been really huge for us in this time. We would not have been able to do it without a solid identity management platform, right? Now, on the other side of it, I submit to you an interesting stat, a statistic. Gartner said that by 2023, over 60% of organizations expect to move away from the VPN technology, a virtual private network. And this was before COVID, you see. The reason I mentioned that is quite important. First, we noticed that for select on-premise legacy applications, because of the architecture, we had to use the VPN. So whereas for the vast majority of heavily used applications, we could use identity management framework through single sign-on remotely. For these, specific applications, we had to use a VPN. So we had to start managing the concurrent licenses better and so on at a pretty extensive cost. So we had to train our workforce better, centered on appropriate usage, meaning, log on for the minimum time and so on, right? So this became an interesting thing. At the same point in time, it enabled IT and InfoSec to become a trusted advisor to the company at large, working in a distributed fashion to actually provide them guidance on things like sizing their home networking and the Wi-Fi capability, how many megabits of cable service or internet service they need to be effective. Because no one was prepared to work all the time from home. I do it from my own basement, for example, so I had to upgrade my, Wi-Fi extender, my cable service. At the end of the day, IT became a
Doctor,
trusted business partner, right?
I'm going to interrupt you. How many hours or additional hours are you seated at the laptop or behind a work schedule now? Has that increased?
Well, I will tell you that probably, someone always says happy wife, happy life, so I got to tell you that probably 20% to 33% more I tend to spend, only simply because, and this is pretty normal. It's just because, you can only walk out with my dog, etc. And a lot of people are doing the same thing. You're kind of stuck to your computer. So yeah, that's a lot more time. I mean, 20%, 30%. It's about, probably 8 to 10 hours more per week, definitely.
And it's a lot of responsibility, isn't it? Because it involves a lot of action work now.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you've got to do it in real time. If you're seeing things, you've got to track it, etc. Right? And the thing is
Yeah.
also working in a global role. It's very important to follow the sun approach. Some things we see in Asia or Europe, it's not always in your time zone. At the end of the day, CISO is a captain of the ship, so you've got to be there to support the team. So it's been interesting. But yeah, a couple of other things. We also had to deploy virtual desktop technology or VDI for select engineering users to make them more effective. And that's something the company had to jumpstart, right? VDI. So that's a lesson learned for us is that, when people are remote, and if you're using very heavy use engineering applications, VDI can be a great enabler. So the last thing I'll say is, I talked earlier about eliminating the VPN to the extent we can. I think that's why the trifecta of identity, zero trust, and software-defined perimeter is really huge. Because at the end of the day, when you look at this era of distributed work, what is it actually doing? It's another step in the pathway to digital transformation in many companies. Like I noted earlier, Twitter is going to be fully remote. Other companies are re-engineering the business processes, right? So when you embrace that trifecta, that allows certain benefits like business enablement by digital transformation, noting that the world of work having changed, how do you enable it? It allows you the agility and flexibility, perhaps like in my case, working too much, but okay, from work from anywhere and be productive. It allows you the notion to really follow the sun, the ability to do security federation, and irrespective of where the support teams are to deliver services just in time to the users, right? And this era of distributed work is just in time, boundaryless access, but just in time support as well. So zero trust, SDP and identity working together enable that, right? The ability to enact physical side of the identity coin, person device location along with attribute, behavior, contextual role, and pattern-based access control in real time to manage session risk so that when you're not in the firewall in your corporate network, you can manage those connections securely using things like user behavior and session risk. So that's really huge, right? And so those three things can really help. So I think going forward, one thing that we can do better is to enact that trifecta to further enable business transformation in a secure fashion. So thank you, Sharon.
Great. Thank you, Doctor. And I think it's really important when we speak of culture and automation, because these are the more important factors. But if I get down to the real business, I'd like to pose this question to our audience who's watching us right now before I ask this question from Dr. Lopa. Can you share with us your issues with the current security operations that you're facing? We would love to take them. We would love to hear from you as well, because we need to keep this interactive as much as possible. But Dr. Lopa, I would like to know your views. Can you share the top 5 issues with the current security operations while we wait for our audience reply as well?
Very, very interesting question, Sharon. And in current situation, it is very important that we should share the information with each other to understand that what are the biggest challenge today. One of the biggest challenge is extending a secure connectivity beyond the corporate boundary. Because earlier, you are actually determining the boundary of your corporate network, as well as you are enabling some of the channel with your partner or some trusted area. But currently, it is like, extending a secure channel beyond a broken boundary. Why broken boundary? Because you need to open your boundary for your own people, and you don't know what kind of area they're sitting on. That is one of the biggest challenge for most of the corporate, because what is a cost effective solution for that? What would be the legal challenges associated with that? Because some company may go and roll out the bring your own device or bring your own identity policy, but there is a repercussion or implication related to legal uh, area, that is your IT Act of the different uh, countries, then Data Privacy Act, because you have your own data and you have the container which you are running within your devices, right? That is a big challenge. Now, in case uh, somebody is going to misplace the device or going to lose the device, if they are in a corporate environment, we just swap that data, right? And this is a very limited number of people having that kind of access. Now everybody is having that kind of access. Now when you are swapping the entire data, there is a chance, not 100% chance, but there is a chance in some cases employee own data is also going to be wiped out from the device. That could be a possibility. That is a legal challenge. Then we have experienced that huge number of fraud initiated using the COVID scenario. One of the major fraud is CEO fraud or CFO fraud by exploiting this social distancing. So, if you look at a chief operating officer or chief executive officer, chief financial officer, they actually approve the financial transaction of the company, or some of the functional head also approving the financial transaction of company. Some cases, there people are witness that since there is a social distancing, people are working from home. Maybe you need to release the salary, you need to release the payment to your vendor, and that particular ERP may not be accessible that point of time. Could happen. So etiquette taking the advantage of that, and they are crafting a very nice phishing mail that I'm not able to access the particular application, so please take this as my approval and release that. And there could be the wrong information on which account is it's supposed to move, right? So these new frauds are actually evident during this phase. Similarly, we can see that lots of devices are compromised due to the phishing attack. Then again, incident response is a major challenge, one of the major challenge. The reason is when somebody actually reporting your incident and your entire incident handling team is sitting at home and working remotely. Now that is a big challenge. We need to relook at entire end-to-end process and technology, how to handle that. Dedicated helpline, right? How you can get a dedicated cost-effective helpline. Then obviously user awareness training is a major requirement. And when it is coming to the regulatory side, right, still there are some regulatory hurdle. Industry is facing certain set of data we cannot take out of our premises for certain set of business, and those are very regulated data. Now, when we are working remotely from home, it's time for regulator also relook to that area, how we can enable those activity, right? Because we don't know tomorrow when it is coming to the business as usual or restoration of this. And we all know that COVID is going to move out from the world one day. It is not a permanent stuff, but this kind of thing may happen again, right? We need to get gear up for that. So from that perspective, this is also a big challenge for us. And obviously, BCM, or business continuity management, is not a crisis management. Crisis management could be part of it, but we need to relook on the crisis management part again, because this is a major learning this time. Secondly, cyber resilience and business continuity management, crisis management need to work hand in hand, because I don't think we as a cyber security or information security specialist need to reinvent the things which are already very nicely running by the business continuity management. Same way, business continuity management has their own expertise. They don't require to learn the cyber or information or risk management. It's a time to handshake properly and ensure that in future the challenges which we have faced today is not going to be a kind of challenge anymore. And the fifth is the most challenging thing, I think, shadow IT. Shadow IT is exponentially growing during this phase of COVID. I don't think personally we need to say that, remove those shadow. I think the best way is to identify those shadow, govern this shadow, know who are your shadow IT. So if you know that how they are actually impacting your entire business portfolio, take a step ahead, start identifying them and govern them. Because there are small applications today we are using. Those applications are very useful, but we don't know what kind of activity going on beyond those applications, because we are using those as a collaboration platform. So collaboration platform needs to be looked from security and privacy perspective. So these are kind of 5 major challenges we experience, and obviously we are trying to overcome that as effectively as possible, as fast as possible. And I trust that everybody is doing good. That's the reason the business is running under this circumstances. But now, since the business is running, it's again, we need to relook at our learning and refresh the entire end-to-end stuff to ensure the business is able to achieve the objective without any compromise of data.
Thank you, Dr. Lopa. The issues and more current issues, I believe we have more and more, and I see a lot of them have sent in their questions, although we ask for issues, more of looking for solutions. I will take your questions, I will, but thank you, Rajiv, Darin, and Karen, who have sent in their questions. But I'm going to quickly cross over to Jaideep now and ask you, thoughts about SOAR and the general optimization. How do you see this, Jaideep?
Thank you, Sharon. Very nice question, because Infopercept has always been talking optimization, and what we have always believed is optimization is the journey, and it's a continuous process that everybody needs to follow. And the way we look at it is in a very different way, because cybersecurity is something where you need to think the different mindsets, I would say. The way we started is like we are all from a background of offensive security, kind of red teamers. So we know most of the banks, all the vertical, all kinds of clients having best of the tools and technologies, best of the policies and procedures. But when we do our assessments in terms of the red teaming, we are always able to break into their system. So that's the worry which we have for all the clients across. And that's the reason we always talk about optimization as a journey. So with this, I have few slides with me. As you can see that there are certain objects which are placed here, so which are all in silos. So when these objects are in silos, it is of no use. So same way in the cybersecurity, you need the tight integration. So when I click, you can see a drone. So drone again is a solution, but then this solution alone is not important. Like it's not serving the problem. The way already explained by Lopa ma'am and Arun sir, that people and the strategy is important. So what you need is like to operate this drone, you need a right person, and this right person needs the right strategy. So that gives the complete integrated process, the integrated platform, and that's what we call it as optimization. Coming to SOAR, so basically at Infopercept, what we have been doing all this year is like innovating in terms of new ways of working with different tools and technologies. So we have been doing a lot of thinking about the thinking to come out with a right approach to solve the problem of the security operations. So in this, if you can see currently in the slide, there is an attacker and there is somebody who's trying to defend. So as a first step, the defender needs to observe. So the tool SIEM, which everybody knows and has been used by a lot of clients, but they are not able to optimize this. The challenge is like you need to understand the basics of why you need SIEM and what you need to achieve using SIEM. So first thing that you need to build with SIEM is onboarding maximum possible data sources. I would say all data sources rather. So onboarding them, writing all the required use cases, writing correlation. So that helps you to observe the attacker first. Now in the same path, everybody currently is talking about SOAR, which is security orchestrator and automated response, which is an expensive tool, the tool which really requires skill set, and the use case is not clear. So optimization again is a journey there. So what you need is like, again, we need to understand the attacker's, I would say, scenario where again the attacker has initiated the attack. So what the defender needs to do is he needs to orient himself, in the sense like if the we need to orient whether the attacker is going to attack you on your stomach, head, leg. So based on that, you need to further have the countermeasures to it. So first, it is required to orient, where you need to have various use cases and run books which are running in your SOAR, which allows you to orient where the attacker is coming from and where he is targeting. So those orientations and all the use cases needs to build as part of SOAR. And when it comes to further, like, because in an security infrastructure with all large clients, mid-sized clients, they would at least have 30, 50, or sometimes 100, 200 different kinds of security solutions being used. So maybe what you need is like, when we are talking about SOAR to automate the incident response, we need to communicate with all different solutions that are available across the landscape. So as you can see here, in the third step, where the attacker and the defender. So a defender is attacking it. So he has taken that decision that he is going to counter attack it. So in the third phase, we need to communicate with various tools and technology in the ecosystem, decide and do the counter attack. So that's the overall journey. And this journey we have built with a lot of, I would say, experience. Many a times when we implement this OODA, which we call it as observe, orient, decide, act, and we add adapt, that is like we keep learning of all the use cases that we build and make it more effective for the clients. So this is the actual optimization that the SOCs across the globe really required to have an understanding of the attacker's mindset, attacker's psychology, and mapping it with all the different technologies that you are using. So This is the real optimization. And many a times what we have experienced is companies having a lot of tools like SIM, EDRs and other solutions. And when we enter and implement the OODAA strategy, they ask us, like earlier we were not able to work on the incident response. What is that you have installed new in this environment? So the major answer is that we have helped you with the optimization strategy. So that's what we do, Sharon.
I'm very honored that Infopercept is organizing this event, but we'd like to know what more do they bring for us, Jaydeep?
Sure, Sharon. So as we all know, Infopercept has always been known for the managed security services. We have always been talking cybersecurity. That's the only SWOT that we have practiced, and we are trying to perfect it. We always believe in right strategy. We take a lot of learning from Abraham Lincoln, saying that if he had 6 hours to chop a tree with an axe, then he would spend 4 hours to sharpen the axe. So that's about the strategy. So we have always been helping clients with the right strategies that are required. Still, like after having all different tools and technologies, policy procedures, governance, everything in place, we'll always keep hearing about the red SOS situation. From February till now, we already have heard about Google's being hacked, Twitter's being hacked, most of the banks in different parts of the world being hacked. So red SOS situations in terms of the invisible enemy, the attack on the essential services, kind of DDoS attacks happening on the environments, isolating you from accessing your own systems, compromised where you already have a ransomware or the malware running inside your environment, and you are not even aware, and your systems are being used for various different purpose like mining and other stuff. And many times because of the cyber attacks, you see loss of brands and the companies filing the bankruptcies as well. So red SOS situations keep increasing, and the landscape that we see from machines, like the manufacturing companies would have their SCADA OT setups, banking would have the ATM swipes, the POS machines, most of the companies would have their own on-premises infrastructure, own data center. Again, with the growing cloud since last 10 years now, people have started adopting cloud for their new workloads, new applications. We have usage of a mobile, where mobiles are being used for a lot of business purposes. And all the third-party communication, the third-party integration, the entire ecosystem is completely dependent on digital. So the way the attackers attack is in the sense they would target any of these areas, and once they have the access or they have the foothold being established, they do the lateral movement across the landscape. So that's becoming a real challenge in terms of the red SOS situation. And just a brief on the red SOS life cycle, that is the attack life cycle. So like we have worked as a red teamer for a lot of clients across the globe, and we have not found any single client so far where we were not able to penetrate. So that's how we see, like, so adversaries also, if they have planned certain activities, it's a sophisticated crime that they are targeting on the organization, then definitely there are ways to penetrate the environment. So I've just divided the Mudraa attack into different phases of the actual war also. So where you see in the pre-attack, where the adversaries has a mindset to see where they can weaponize and how they can weaponize. So in the pre-attack, he's just looking for few vulnerabilities or a single vulnerability where he can and weaponize something to get into the environment. And once he is able to weaponize, the second is like he will launch an attack. Once the attack is launched, the second target is to establish the command control, that is CNC. And once that command control is established, he wants to maintain the command control, that is the persistence. So that is like before the war started, and when he's in the war, that is in attack. So the third thing that he would do is he will try to do the lateral movement in the entire environment, where he tries to touch base all the different servers, applications, everything that is running inside the infrastructure, and we call it as in attack situation, where the major motive is to do the data exfiltration, so bringing the data out from that particular organization. So that's the red SOS situations that we see. So as Infopercept, we have always been talking green SOS, and a lot of clients in their boardroom also talks about the same concept of green SOS, where what we do is like implementing the entire cybersecurity is not a one-day task, it's a journey. So we help customer to define their strategy in terms of secure, optimize, and strengthen, where we help them to understand what are the various tools that will be implemented across the different life cycle, and various team people that would be required in each phases. And finally, in the strengthen, what we do is like we build a lot of digital warriors also to fight against the growing cyber attacks. So that's the green SOS as a framework that we help customers. And we also run 4 different centers supporting our clients, working as an helpline, which Lopa ma'am was discussing about, where we have our helpline as SOC, which is Security Optimization Center, Technology Optimization Center, helping customers to optimize their technologies, Compliance Optimization Center to help them build various compliances within the organization, and Automation Onboarding Center to build various digital warriors. So that's the value add that we bring to all the clients who are fighting this digital warfare as an ally to their infrastructure.
Thank you, Jaydeep. And I'm sure if our audience is watching us right now, if you have more further details and if you want to get in touch, their website is there. You can check it out as well. I'm going to move on to Dr. Arun now. You spoke about people, process, and technology, integrating people being a very important component. Where do you see cybersecurity going in the next few years with people, process, and technology perspective? How do you see a CISO, CIO, a security executive navigating through this whole transition? I know it's a lot of responsibility, but how do you see it, Doctor?
Yeah, we have so many winds of change in business these days. A lot of them have been talked, from ransomware to data breaches to privacy and so on. So the landscape is changing dynamically. I would say that from my perspective, there are various principles that we should follow, because the technology will change, the technology measures that can be put in place. But to be effective, to get that triad working properly, there are some steps that I would take. The first thing is very strong business partnerships, cross-functionally across the length, depth, and breadth of the enterprise, not only inside the company, but with external partners as well, so that we can have proper strategic planning and enterprise risk management. So therefore, it'll allow us to embrace the trifecta of identity, zero trust, and software-defined perimeter, and implement strategies in real time and adaptive strategies in the right way. So to able to enact all these things well, relationship management is key, especially in the field of distributed work. I talked about earlier about the importance of culture, staying connected, keeping team unity and enterprise unity. I think that's going to be very, very important, and sometimes the CISOs get so buried in the day-to-day details, the operational tasks, We talk about strategy, tactics, and operations, and unfortunately, as CISO, sometimes you're too much involved in operations. But I think in order to be successful going forward, as a CISO or security leaders, we need to spend more time on strategy and tactics, not to say operations is not important, but rather delegate more operations to our teams to the extent we can and focus more on strategy and tactics, right? So in order to do that, you need to be able to stay engaged with your stakeholders and teams with the notion of conversation, connection, community, to have those rich conversations and take collaborative actions together. So when you do all this, you'll be able to say, okay, these are the risks, these are the technologies, this is our roadmap of actions and initiatives, right? So how do you make sure that you maintain business credibility? And that you do by super program management with proper alignment execution, because you can make all the promises in the world. The first time you don't deliver something properly, gone, your credibility is gone. There's not a lot of room. So program management is a key component as a CISO and in security team, there's even IT teams, right? Continuing to build and maintain those trusted partnerships within the company and outside the company, across the enterprise ecosystem, and in fact, fostering mutual support and collaboration, because we're all in the cyber battle together, right? It's not us versus them or etc. We got to pull together. Priority management is key, making sure that the battles you choose are on one side driven by business risk, but also by the company mission, because you can't work on everything well. So pick your battles, focus your priorities, execute well. And at the end of the day, fostering a culture of respect and trust within the security team in IT, across the cross-functional business, across the enterprise ecosystem, leveraging constant communication, relationship, and management, and actually, minimizing conflict, because this battle is bigger than any one of us. We got to all pull together. Hope that helps, Sharon.
Yeah, and I know we're coming to our last 5 minutes, but I'd like to ask Jaydeep. Cyber world is discussing a lot about digital warfare. How futuristic is it? The eminent digital warfare. How will it look like in the future? If you can keep it short and give us a quick overview.
Sure, Sharon. So, as we all been discussing about the number of crimes that has increased post the pandemic, that is COVID-19. So, if you look at the certain statistics, then the number of spam messages that has increased in the month of February and March, it's like 90K. Number of malwares in terms of the COVID-19 name, it's 737K. Number of new malicious URLs that have been seen published, and where we have seen a lot of crimes happening also. That's 48K. The number of spam messages has increased to 220x, and the URLs, the malicious URLs, has increased from 260%. So, and the targeted countries were the United States and Italy, the largest. So overall, the world is currently facing both the physical war as well as the digital war. And it's becoming very difficult for a lot of businesses, governments, and countries to operate on. And the way we see the war scenarios, and we have been discussing with all our clients, is where you have the strength, you know your strength, and you know your enemy's strength. So that was a very easy situation to fight for, which is a known situation. Second scenario is where you know your strength, but you don't know your enemy's strength, which is your known unknown situation, which is again the scenario which you can still fight because you are clear about your strength. But then the third situation, which we see currently in the COVID pandemic, in the physical ground, and the same in the digital world, where you don't know your strength, you don't know your enemy's strength, which is completely unknown. So actually the digital warfare that we see is the real increase in a lot of unknown situation, and which is actually becoming the major problem. So this is the external war scenarios that we see. And internally, the companies are making mistake of doing a tug of war, in the sense like you invest a lot in various different processes, different people in terms of your HR, marketing, sales, finance, development, IT, network. But when it comes to security, it's always a tug of war, where you always have a lean team in terms of one or two people helping you to keep secure. But the challenge currently is like to balance this. You need multidisciplinary people, a multidisciplinary cybersecurity team working for you. So the way we help to fight this digital warfare is with different teams. Like we have the red team who thinks completely offensive, tries to break into the systems. We have the blue team who's continuously 24/7 doing the monitoring of the new and the existing threats. We have purple team who thinks defense in depth and who has been practicing various tools and technologies and helps customers to implement those tools and technologies. And we have the pink team, which does governance, risk, and compliance. And then we also build a lot of digital warriors for our clients. So that's the way we help customers to balance. And in terms of digital warfare, we always, whenever we are doing a red team exercise for banks or any client, we always interact with the physical security team, the people who are actually leading the physical security for the client. And we talk to them and we ask them, do you feel, are you able to protect physically? Nobody is getting inside this company's premises or the banks. Are you sure? Kind of. So we always get a very confident answer from the physical team, saying that, yeah, we have not seen incident and we are very confident that we are secure. And the same question we go to all the CISO and ask whether you feel you are secure. And normally the answer to the question is like, they've seen this incident, that incident, they were impacted by ransomware. So that's the situation and the worry that is there between the physical and the digital world. And if you look at some recent, I would say, incidents that have happened, the latest one, which is the Germany, where because of the ransomware in the hospital, a woman died. So it's completely like so disappointing for the entire globe that because of the cyber attack, woman dies. Though the attackers stopped the attack on informing it, but yes, that's the incident. On the physical world, then we had the Saudi oil, where the drones were attacked and the entire systems were down. And the decade back, the Stuxnet attack, which had happened on the power grids in Iran. So using cyber, the digital world, the digital weapons, a lot of physical damages and the human damages are that what we see in the digital warfare, Sharon.
I know I got you to go into a quick crunch time because we wanted to keep it with 1 hour. And for those who have joined us all across the globe, if you're wondering why we're having it during this hour, it's just that we want to accommodate to people all around the world to be a part of this fantastic webinar. I'd like to ask our panelists to very briefly give me a quick overview on what would you like to say to our viewers who are watching us right now. Any final thoughts, any insights, Dr. Lopa?
So when it is coming to the cyber, generally, we are focusing more on the, obviously that is very important, but our focus is more on the testing part. Our focus is more on the policy part. As Arun has mentioned very clearly, collaboration is the key to the success in cyber. And we need to remember that cyber is one part of information security. It's a one specialist, highly specialized wings of information security. But if we really want to create a data safe environment, we need to focus on information risks, which is within your environment, your partner environment, the environment you are connecting back and forth, understand that, address the risks using the measurable, monitorable control. So you cannot go under the overhead of control as well as under the green paper threat. So look at the strategy part and design part more to create a effective portfolio which is more aligned with the business. Work with the people, understand their requirement, be a solution provider, and also train your people internally to reduce the conflict, because CISO is not the alone interacting with the people, right? It's the entire team. And ensure that you have the required set of expertise within your team, directly within, or maybe you are having some consultant who are advising you on that area. That is very important. And while you are making a security strategy or IT security, information security, your strategy should not only focus with, what tool you have and what are the people you have. You need to look on the risk part and how you address it in every area. Also, try to address the gap by design, privacy by design, security by design, and collaborate with those teams who are actually responsible to integrate that part. It could be your IT team, it could be your operation team, or it could be your application team. You have application security team, but it is more important, application developers should practice it. So if we are able to address it at root, you will have less vulnerable environment. It will be easier to effectively monitor it. Second thing is, we are doing the identity and access management. It's a very critical component, but we need to look at the identity and access management for RPA. Try to assign them an identity like an employee and monitor their activity also, because that is a very weaker zone. So these are the main area I would like to focus on. And if you are capable to come out from, get some time from your day-to-day work, focus on to build a bigger workforce in cyber by, maybe by mentoring, by teaching the next gen people. The reason is, if today we have a biggest threats on the cyber is skilled people, where we can see the attackers are highly skilled attackers having lots of technique. We should respect that. Actually, they are giving us opportunity to upskill ourselves, attackers and auditors. So we need to look at that perspective when we are looking at them. They are not enemy. They are actually good friend of us.
Thank you, Doctor.
Secondly, we can just groom them, and so we can address that vacuum and can get a good profession.
Thank you, Doctor. Dr. Arun?
I'll be quick. I would say three things: enable the business, minimize risk, and leverage the power of federation, meaning build a partnership cross-functionally across the length, depth of the business, across the teams, across the extended enterprise system, and pull together in a fashion of unity. So thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Dr. Arun. And Jaydeep?
Yeah. Thank you to the audience and the panelists, Dr. Lopa ma'am and Dr. Arun sir, for being part. And on behalf of Infopercept, we are really thankful for all the audience who have joined us. And we'll keep doing such more webinars for all of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jaydeep, and to everyone out there, stay safe. Infopercept is the website where you need to check out, and we'd like to say a big thank you to all our three panelists for joining us and giving us some great insights. Great to connect with you from the parts of the world that you are connected with us, and we certainly hope we'll get in touch with you again at our future webinars as well. To our viewers who have been with us right throughout, we certainly hope you have a great evening or a fantastic day, and we hope you'll stay safe. And yeah, the virus is a bit annoying. It can keep you going, but also it's good to take precaution and stay safe in overall. Until we see you soon and see you next time, we'd like to invite our panelists to please respond to these questions off air. They will respond to you through email. And if you have any other questions, please get in touch with the panelists and they'll be happy to assist you. I'm Sharon Mascarenhas, joining here from Colombo. Very honored to be in this fantastic panel. Until we see you next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.